to speak a little bit about the Shavuot as we approach it. I always say what Rabbi Yitzchak Petterberger, Rabbi Yitzchak Blazer used to say about the Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, Daf Yud Zayin. The Gemara there speaks about the different ways that a person is judged on Rosh Hashanah, and the Gemara gives examples for what the Gemara could potentially mean when saying Kol Ba'e Olam Uvrin Lefanav Kivne Meron, that everyone is judged in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they pass in front of him Kivne Meron. And the Gemara says, what's Kivne Meron? The Gemara gives three different understandings. One is, like sheep, when you want to count for Maaser Be'emah, you have enclosure with a narrow path and opening. They one by one come there, and you count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then every 10th one, you mark them as Maaser Be'emah. So basically meaning that everyone is passed in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, one by one, judged one by one individually. Mara says, or Kivnei Meron could mean that you are Kema'alot Ben Choron, you go up the mountain, this specific mountain that had a path going up, a very narrow path that only one person at a time could go up. So essentially, you could go one at a time, so you judged one at a time. And finally, the Gemara says, Chayalot Bet David, like the army of David HaMelech, which each one of them was judged and assigned to a certain thing by themselves. So Rabbi Yitzchak Petterberger, Rabbi Yitzchak Blazer, he asks, wait a second, so you just told me three different things that are essentially the same concept, that you are judged and visited by HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Bet Din one by one. So he says, no, the deeper understanding is like this. The deeper understanding is, when you open the enclosure for sheep, the stronger ones push their way through, and they come first. That's how it works. It's pushing and shoving. So that is the mashal for tzaddikim who have great maasim, and with the zchut of their own maasim, they are judged on Rosh Hashanah, and they signed and sealed for Chaim Tovim. And Chayalot Bet David, when the king visits his soldiers and he signs them for whatever reason, he doesn't explain why this one goes to the south, that one goes to the north. It's his understanding beyond the capacity or even room for explanation. And says Rabbi Yitzchak Blazer, some people get signed and sealed for life for reasons beyond our understanding. Like the Gemara says in Masechet Brachot, HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not even answer Moshe Rabbeinu. According to one understanding of the Gemara, when Moshe asked, why is it that there are some good people who suffer, some bad people who prosper, Hashem told him, you're not going to understand. And Hashem answers him, you're not going to understand. Says Rabbi Yitzchak Blazer, the third one is the most practical and applicable to everyone, and that is the mountain going up. Who gets to be first to get to the top of the mountain? Here, they're human beings, not sheep. They're not pushing and shoving, hopefully. And it's not a king or beyond your understanding. It's a first comes, first serve. When you come first there, and you start the path first, you're going to get up there first. That's how it works. And says Rabbi Yitzchak Blazer, that's what the Gemara says, that people who come prepared, they don't just jump into Rosh Hashanah, they come prepared the whole Chodesh Elul and so on. Those are the people who actually get to be first. And as we mentioned, the Gemara in Megillah that discusses in Daf Lamed Aleph that you have the concept of Rosh Hashanah by Shavuot. You see this earlier on, Hafted, that there are the 4 periods of time that are counted in the Mishnah in the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, that there are Arba Rashi Shanim. There are 4 Rosh Hashanahs, so to speak. 2 of them are very important. One is Rosh Hashanah, the regular, conventional Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of Tishrei. And the other one is the Yom Tov of Shavuot. That's why it says that Ezra instituted a pattern that every year we read the Klalot of Parashat Bechukotai, which we just had yesterday, right before Shavuot, and the Klalot of Kitavo before Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because Tichle Shana V'Kilolotea. Let the year end with its Klalot, and it's a new year now. So you see, Shavuot is as important as Rosh Hashanah. And it's not just that it happens to be like this, because the Gemara there, as we mentioned in Chavtet, says that in Eretz Yisrael they used to finish the cycle of Torah once in 3 years. And yet they would do this thing of Klalot before Shavuot. So you see, something special about Shavuot that's considered the Rosh Hashanah is Va Rosh Hashanah, outside the conventional Rosh Hashanah. It's an important thing. And when you apply that learning of that concept that Rabbi Yitzchak Blazer brings to Shavuot, it would mean that you have to come prepared. You can't just jump into Shavuot. Even in the time of the Matan Torah, the actual Matan Torah, Kadosh Baruch Hu told them for 3 days you have to prepare from before. Al Tikshim Elisha, you had 3 intense days of preparation for Matan Torah, for Shavuot. And by our generation, probably you need 3 weeks, but all of the, of course, 7 weeks that we count from Pesach is days of preparation, of course. But it needs some active, mindful preparation for what is it that I'm going to do. For Rosh Hashanah, we hopefully prepare all with New Year's resolutions and what am I going to change and so on. This is the Rosh Hashanah, so to speak, of Torah. And it's kedai for a person to revisit what it means to be a person that learns. So let us discuss a little bit about what we had just in our parasha. The parasha starts in Bechukotai Telechu ve'et mitzvotai tishmeru v'asitem otam. The opening of the brachot is in Bechukotai Telechu. Now, one of the times that Rashi deviates from the simple understanding of the Chumash is in this pasuk. If me and you would be to translate in Bechukotai Telechu, what would we say? If you do the mitzvot, Bechukotai Telechu means keep my chukim. That's what we would translate. Rashi says no. It doesn't mean that. It means shetiyu amelim b'Torah. That you should be toiling, working hard in Torah. Now, why is Rashi deviating? It's very simple. Because there's the rest of the pasuk. How does the pasuk end? In other words, you cannot translate it as its literal translation, because that literal translation is the next words in the pasuk. Ve'et mitzvotai tishmeru, you will keep my mitzvot, v'asitem otam, and you will do them. There are 3 different languages of doing in that short pasuk. In bechukotai telechu, that you will go, literally translated, you will go in my chukim. Ve'et mitzvotai tishmeru, you'll keep my mitzvot, v'asitem otam, you'll do them. You have to explain all those. But you certainly cannot say that bechukotai telechu means doing the mitzvot, because that's already the explicit thing that's mentioned right afterwards, next words of the pasuk. So therefore, Chazal tell us, and Rashi brings the Chazal, that in bechukotai telechu means shetiyu amelim b'Torah. You should be working hard, toiling in learning Torah, right? Now you have to still understand, why would the Torah use the wording of going for learning Torah? Just say learning Torah. Why do you have to say it like that? So the truth is, there's a pasuk in Zechariah which is very fundamental. My Yeshiva Zatzal, Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Kolevsky, Alav Shalom, he was a Rebbe for a year. He was Rosh Yeshiva. He used to always bring this drasha that malachim are called omdim. Human beings are called mahalachim. Us, the humans, we are called creatures in move, right? And malachim are steady. It says, "V'natati lecha mahalachim ben haomdim ha'eled." Pasuk in Zechariah, we read it in Haftarah. Malachim are steady; they don't move. They are created on one level, and they stay on that level all the time. Human beings are always either going up or going down. They're always moving. So the definition of a person is when they are always growing and adding to their knowledge. That is what defines us as human beings. We never stay. We don't want to stay same level, right? I gave a talk for a group of you can't say really older, but older individuals. They're in their 60s and so on. And the thing was about learning Torah after retirement, right? So I told them, I said, you know what retirement means? It means like this: you have a truck, and after going 40,000 miles, so the tires, they're ruined, right? You have to retire and keep trucking. And that's what it means. You see, there are a lot of things that you couldn't do when you were younger. Now that you're older, you have more time. You have to retire, so to speak, and keep trucking. You never stop the growth. That's malachim. It's a mindset. It's really a shift in a person's mindset. It's a paradigm shift. When you think of life as, I am building every day. That's why the Torah does not say just learn, because you're moving. When you're toiling in Torah, when you are trudim ladat, so that you want to acquire Torah, that becomes a building process that no day you're the same as yesterday. And that's the goal. You want every day to be growing. It's a tremendous mindset. And really becomes your Torah. There's a fascinating Gemara in Masechet Kiddushin, and Daf Lamed Bet Amud Bet 32b. The Gemara there says, speaking about Kivud Avaim, it's a Gemara primary about Kivud Avaim and Kavod of Talmidei Chachamim. And the Gemara says a Talmid Chacham could forgive his Kavod. He cannot forgive his Bizayon. If someone disgraces the Talmid Chacham, that is considered a disgrace directly to the Torah, so it's not his to forgive. But the Kavod of the Torah that he has, he could forgive. The Gemara says, well, it is his kavod to forgive. It's not his. It's the kavod of the Torah. Gemara says, no, it is. The Torah becomes Naaset Torah Dileh. When a person toils in Torah, it becomes like his Torah. It becomes one and the same with his kavod. As the pasuk says, Ube Torato Yehege Yomam Valayla. So you literally acquire the Torah, becomes something that's part of you. The Rogatchover Gaon, Rabbi Yosef Rosen, who was one of the greatest Geonim of the previous generation, he says something fascinating. He says, his sefer is called Paneach Raza. He says that the Torah really is a kinyan, and the reason that he's saying it in Bechukotai Telechu, says, why are you saying, you walk in my Torah? He brings the Rambam in Pirush Mishnayot. The Rambam says, in Baba Batra, that walking could be a kinyan. Normally speaking, when you want to halachically acquire a land with an action, aside from kinyan sudar, of exchange modality, or the modalities of shtar, and so on, one of the modalities of kinyan for karka, for land, is gadar na'alu paratz. You either fence the area, or you lock the doors of the area, or you make a pirza. You show that you're the owner by breaking the door, opening some path, and so on. But walking is not one of them, even though that Avraham Avinu was told by Hashem, it says, go walk around the thing, I'll give it to you, right? But Rambam says, when you have shutafim, when you have two partners, and now you want to divide the partnership, walking the land, that's your part, it's sufficient for kinyan of chalukah, of division. And says the Rogatchover Gaon, this is a acrobatic genius of the Rogatchover Gaon, but it's beautiful and powerful in its concept. It says, we and HaKadosh Baruch Hu are partners in the Torah. Torah is our morasha. It's our inheritance. Like the Gemara says, when Moshe Rabbeinu accepted the Torah, the Gemara in Baba Batra Yudalet, Gemara says, the 6 tfachim of the Torah, 2 tfachim Moshe Rabbeinu was holding, 2 tfachim of it Hashem was holding, and 2 tfachim was in the middle. That's a beautiful analogy of our partnership with HaKadosh Baruch Hu when it comes to the ownership of Torah. So it says, therefore, like walking is like a
acquirement, a kinyan of Torah, but it has to be active. A passive learning of crossing your leg and listening to a podcast is beautiful, right? Even if you're sipping some drink with it. But it's not the way you acquire Torah. It has to be planned. It has to be like you're going somewhere. When you go somewhere, you have to know where you are. You have to know where you're getting, and you have to have a plan. And by acquiring Torah is the same way. You set goals. You create plans. How am I going to finish Mishnayot? How am I going to finish Shas? After all, everyone knows that Arizal says you're going to come back in Gilgul if you don't finish Shas, right? So what's my plan? I want to do it. I want to get it done. And that is, actually, it's very powerful to note something about Yerushalmi in Baba Batra, in Perek Chet, that Rabbi Chavargar actually alludes to. He says, Lashon Morasha, the language Morasha, how do we translate Morasha? Heritage, right? Or inheritance. So, the Rabbi Chavargar brings the Yerushalmi, that Yerushalmi says it's Lashon Diha, it's a diluted, it's a very weak language. What does that mean exactly? It means that it could mean that's inheritance for you, or it could be that it's something that you inherit to your children. It could be either or. What's the difference? The difference is like this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when He took the Jews out of Mitzrayim, prior to Yetziat Mitzrayim, He promised them, He said, "V'natati ota lachem morasha." I will give Eretz Yisrael to you guys as morasha. And Yerushalmi says, what happened? Did they actually enter Eretz Yisrael? No. Those people, 20 to 60, died in the Midbar. They never stepped foot in Eretz Yisrael. So what did it turn out to mean? It's a flexible language, morasha, right? What do you call it? There should be a better word in English for it. It could mean this. It could mean that. It's a it's a language that could mean either or, depending on your actions. So Hashem wanted to give it to them, but because they sinned, now the morasha means it's something that you pass down to your generation. Your kids are going to get it, but you missed out. And the whole sugya in the Bavli of Baba Batra, this was in Yerushalmi. In Bavli, in Daf Kuf Yutet, I believe, in Baba Batra, the whole sugya there talks about this, that Yerusha could mean both, really. So it really depends on us. The Torah is there. You could acquire it, or you could just pass it down, without you having a chelik, a real partner. And I find this like powerful, because it really, Hashem has extended His hand. He says, I want the partnership with you. If you're active, if you are proactive, if you plan, I'm there. My hand is extended as a hand of partnership. But if you don't, the Torah is going to be potentially there for next generation, but you lose out. And that's the power of preparation for Torah. When, again, the lives are busy, you have a Yom Tov coming up, and so on, preparations, and especially a lot of things are going on in the community, Baruch Hashem, with Torah, and so on. But it has to be a planning that, great, what am I going to do this year different? Adding another set of learning, right? Keep on trucking with new tires, with excitement. Just like you have a New Year's resolution, this is a Rosh Hashanah that the Gemara takes very seriously. So much so that we have to read the Klalot, Tichle Shana v'Kileroteha. All the times that I couldn't learn, and I didn't learn, when I could have, should have, would have, but didn't. This year I'm going to change it a little bit, add a little bit. Planned action, proactive involvement, a partnership that is meaningful. That's something very powerful. That changes a person's attitude towards the Torah. It's something that's ours. It's Torah dileh, the Gemara says. It becomes your Torah if you work for it. And that's something that I think inspires myself we should inspire everyone to be able to claim the ownership that we have over Torah. It's not something that's sitting there, Bekeren Zavit, but it is something that is ours. And like the Khatam Sofer writes, when a person works hard in the Torah omelet lo b'makom acher. Right? Nefesh, the Chazal dash in this in Midrash, nefesh amel amlalo, the Pasuk says. So what does it mean, nefesh amel amlalo? It says when you work for Torah, the Torah works for you at a different place. Now, the simple understanding is that you work hard in this sugya, and you seem to not get anywhere, but you're literally killing yourself to understand the piece of Torah. But the energy, spiritual energy that you create, causes that in a different place, all of a sudden a chidush comes to your mind, an understanding opens up for you, a door. But in a much broader picture of life, when a person works for Torah, the Torah stands there for him, for his children. HaTorah, like the Gemara says, Chozeret al achasaniya shela. The Gemara says in Bava Metzia and Peidalet, Torah returns to its host. When a person works hard for Torah, whether it's supporting Torah, whether it's learning Torah, especially learning Torah and working hard, amelim b'Torah, the Torah stands for that person. Because it's your Torah. The zchut of that Torah comes back to that family. For the person himself, for the children, for the grandchildren, you become a host to the Torah. And that's something powerful to think about it. When you go Shavuot, you stand there, we say, I want to accept this Torah. Right? It's Kabbalat Torah. It's not just Matan Torah is every day. But Kabbalat Torah is the day that you decide that I am accepting this thing and I'm running with it. I'm hosting it, I'm working for it, and I want to own it. Bezat Hashem, she'ol bi zocher la bracha. Amen.